Hey, what's up, you curious cats? Today I'm going to speak a little bit on the divide and conquer tactics that are being used by these powerful elite. What they are doing is they have these powerful think tanks that it's some of the brightest people in the world, and these people are paid to sit around and think and strategize and find ways to keep us disempowered and keep the masses fighting amongst themselves so that they can't find unity and rise up against the few that are controlling the many. So some of the tactics they're using are they have the women hating the men and vice versa, the men hating the women. Right now we're seeing more of the hatred from the women towards the men in this extreme rise of feminism, which is understandable given where a lot of the women are coming from and a lot of the horrific things that have happened to women in the past. However, the powers that be are playing on that, and they're getting the women to hate the men and hold resentment, and that disempowers us. So where we have our true power is when the masculine and the feminine unite and find power together and they rise up. They don't want you to know that. They want to keep us fighting amongst ourselves. So that's just one of the tactics they use, is men against women. They have the left versus the right politically so that no one can agree on anything. We're so busy fighting ourselves. The left ideology versus the right ideology, conservative versus liberalism, and that keeps us busy fighting amongst ourselves when the true enemy is the powerful elite that are sitting in power, that they hold power no matter who gets in, the left or the right. They're all controlled by the same inner cabal or inner deep state, if you may. And these people basically control stuff no matter what, and they have us believing that we need to fight for these ideologies, that if our political party just gets into power, we'll be okay and all the problems will be solved. And this is a divide and conquer tactic that they have, and they're using social media to also further divide and conquer us. They do this by us wasting our time arguing our points online, and they purposely, in my opinion, will show it to people that have counter opinions, or they show it to people that are already drinking the same Kool-Aid as you, so that the information is either contained, or they share it with extremists in the other regard, so they get you arguing and bickering over these small little things. But the true enemy, if you may, or the true problem, is these few that sit at the top and control things, and they keep us enslaved. So the way that we rise up is when we start to come together as a nation. We used to be strong. That is how, if you look at the history of India, that is how India escaped colonialism. They actually kicked the English out, and they did that because they were a united country. And there's no way, we can't even unite on the smallest things now in North America. You look at how divided and conquered they have our nations in the West here, in Canada and the United States. They have us so busy fighting each other, the gays versus the straights, all the colored people versus the whites, the female versus male, the haves versus the have-nots. We're so busy fighting each other that we don't realize the common enemy. And that is exactly where they want us. So I think this is an important video, and I know it could be perceived in a negative light. However, it's very important that we recognize these tactics that they're using so we can make a conscious effort to recognize it and try and move past it and try and understand our differences and learn to communicate. What I notice is online, you post the slightest thing, you're jumped all over now. And people are so quick to start putting you down personally instead of just having a decent intellectual conversation and opening up the dialogues and exploring our differences. They see it as a personal attack, and then people get triggered, and then there's a bunch of name calling, and it's counterproductive. So Another thing they're doing that I know this is going to sound a little bit controversial and it's hard to wrap your mind around in the beginning, and this is just my opinion. You don't have to take it for truth. But another thing they're doing is it's opening up the borders and it's pushing this multiculturalism. So what they're doing is they're flooding North America with so many other cultures, and the globalists have opened up the borders, and they're flooding us with so many different cultures that now basically everything's so watered down. And don't get me wrong, I love other cultures. I love traveling and experiencing these other cultures. But what happens is when they try and force all these different cultures into these small cities, these small areas, and they're trying to get everyone to get along, it creates a lot of friction and it waters down each individual culture. So I know that's, often if just having commentary like this, I'm going to be deemed a racist. And that's not true. I love other cultures. I love their food. I love seeing their art and how they get along and how they've learned to survive in this world. I think it's all very important. But the challenge comes when they basically open up the borders and they push us all into these small cubicles in these cities, and they try and force us all to get along, and they water down our individual cultures. So that's another divide and conquer tactic where it's hard for these cultures to all get along. We all have different values and different things that we prioritize. And when we're all kind of forced to start intermingling and trying to get along amongst ourselves, it creates a lot of challenges that aren't necessarily needed. So I know that's a difficult thing to wrap your mind around. And we've recently seen Trump shut down the border to immigration. And there's a lot of theory that Trump is actually an anti-globalist and that he is working against this cabal and this deep state operative. We shall see. I'm a big skeptic of that. However, I remain hopeful, and I want to see how it all plays out. Like I say, I hope you don't get me wrong there. I love other cultures and all that. I just think it's important that we preserve our individual cultures and that we're able to maintain these cultures instead of being demonized. If you look at what has happened, let's just look at Christianity over the last 20 years. Or even 50 years. I look at my grandparents' generation, and there was a lot of people that went to church and were following the Christian faith. And then our generation came along, and in just 2 generations, if you even spoke the word Jesus, people would cringe and call you a Jesus freak. And you look at the narrative. You look at, let's say Ned Flanders on The Simpsons, how much fun that he's made of, and how much they've demonized praising Jesus, and how much they've broken up the church. And now this new thing where they're using COVID, where they say, oh, this deadly virus is spreading and it's not safe to go to church. It's not safe to join in mass. That's just another divide and conquer tactic that they're using. They're forcing us all to stay at home. They're breaking up gatherings in larger numbers so that we can't share ideas amongst ourselves, and we can't combine our own personal thoughts with one another, and we can't use our intelligence to start to question the narrative that they're pushing. And so by furthering this divide and conquer agenda that they have, they're disempowering us, and they're keeping us home as an individual that's disempowered. And the only way we're able to share nowadays is through social media, where they're able to control the information and they're able to censor information. So I know this is a lot, and I know it's highly, what I'm saying is pretty controversial, and I don't expect you to just, accept what I'm saying as truth. I just hope that with your own critical mind, you can start to potentially consider the possibilities of what's going on with these divide and conquer tactics, and start to look at the mainstream narrative and look at some of the stuff that's being pushed and forced down your throats, and look at the way the masses are going. Look at how anytime people question this open border policy that they're right away they're deemed a racist, and you can't even speak about trying to preserve your own culture without being deemed a racist. So kind of with this knowledge, you can just start to use your own critical mind to question some of this stuff. And when you start to look at the narrative, you might begin to see what's going on for yourself, and you can start to recognize some of what is going on and some of the tactics that they're using to divide and conquer us. And with that knowledge, I think we can all make a better effort to understand our differences and to come together and realize the true common enemy. I don't even like to use the word enemy, but the common, the person, the entity that is at the top that's trying to enslave us and disempower us. So that is where we need to come together. We are the ones that are the mass. We are the ones that are in numbers, the middle class and lower class, and they're actually trying to destroy the middle class and further disempower us, because they know we have the numbers, and they know that if we can unite and recognize them as the kind of the force that's trying to push us down and enslave us and have us disempowered and in need of them, in need of the governments to try and save us from this crisis, that they maintain their power and they keep us disempowered. So with that being said, I'm going to keep it there. I hope that video wasn't too negative. I've been wanting to speak on that a little bit for a while. I don't know how good of a job I did at laying that out, and I hope you don't all think I'm a racist. If you know me as a person, you know I love to travel, and I love all different races for many different reasons. They all have their individual differences that I just find completely fascinating, and I love every one of them, and I love to enjoy many different cultures. I just think it's important that we're able to preserve our own individual culture moving forward. So with that being said, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys all have a fantastic day, and I hope you found some value in this video. Please like and share it. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And with that being said, God bless. Have a fantastic day and stay healthy.